All right, guys, welcome back. Before we get into it, I'd like to say thank you to everyone that's reached out and shown support for the interviews and or podcast, whatever you would like to call them. Today we got my dad, Marco Solorio, on here. A few people had asked if I'd interview him, so we're got him to do an interview. He doesn't really do these, so he's a little nervous, but we'll get through it. Um, so how old were you when you kind of got your start in pigeons, rollers, whatever? I don't know. You started. You didn't really start in rollers, did you?
No, I actually started with fancy birds, which I have four uncles that were in birds, and then my dad actually had birds too. So I've been around it for a long time. But I got my start, with fantails and archangels, owl pigeons, whatever. But it was through my uncles.
So when did you get into like rollers? Did someone introduce you to them, or obviously your uncles? But is there anyone in specific that kind of got you to the rollers?
Well, probably when I was about 10 or 11 years old, my uncle Reuben actually moved in across the street from us in San Jose, and he had rollers. Then I never had rolls. So when I start seeing those birds, I was like, man, those birds are cool. So
Yeah.
that's the way I got started in rollers, and I've had them ever since. There was probably when I was 17 years old, um, we ended up moving to Colorado, so I had to get rid of them for a little period of time so my dad can put the house on the market. But then I got back into them when I moved to Colorado.
Okay. Did did Uncle Ruben get you started with a specific family, or did he kind of just get you? Did you get his birds, or what? Kind of how'd that work out?
When I first got rollers, there was a guy somewhere in San Jose. I don't even know his name, but um, he was getting out of birds. So we went over there, and we actually, what we did, we went over there twice. We flew his kits twice, and picked out the good birds. So when I got him, I actually stocked his kits and flew his breeders. And we were using a local club. I don't even remember what the name was, but we started flying birds, and that family of birds, I don't even know what they were, but at 13 years old, I ended up taking second place on the old birds with the guy's birds, and they were pretty good birds. But then a period of time, I started getting into the jackanets, through my uncle, and that's I had those birds for about 22 years.
Okay, so you had the Jack and Nets for 22 years. So, what family do you have now, and how's that?
I have the Danny Courtney base bloodline. It's probably in 2006. Um, I ended up getting birds from Danny Courtney. I took a vacation to Tennessee, and my uncle was talking about Danny. He's like, man, this guy's got some good birds. They're fast and frequent. So I had my current jackanets. Wasn't even looking at getting another family of birds, but um, I was here probably in May of 2006, and my uncle, he was trying to get a hold of Danny that whole week. Couldn't get a hold of him. Finally, it was like Thursday afternoon. He goes, man, I got a hold of him. But what happened was Danny went in for surgery, for a knee surgery.
Mhm.
He ended up getting staph infection, so he was in the hospital, almost died for about 2.5 months. So he goes, yeah, just have your nephew come down here. So I was just, my intention was just get a couple pair and just try him out. But we went over there, and Danny, he met my dad. My dad was here on vacation too. We're just talking and stuff like that. I go, hey man, I've been in a hospital for like 2.5 months, and my son has been taking care of him. So I probably have a bunch of birds that are probably unbanded. So just go in there and get all the unbanded. Well, I ended up getting like 3 kits of birds. So of unbanded birds. So I
Mhm.
brought them to Colorado, started flying. I was like, man, these birds are pretty good birds. But back then I would fly birds in any weather, and the wind, rain, whatever. And so I lost some of them, just me being dumb, being young.
Mhm.
Um, so, but really, there were some really, really good birds. I mean, I look back at, there was probably 6 or 7 really, really good birds that, man, if I would have got them birds and started breeding out right away, I would have been far along.
Mhm.
But I noticed right away that they're, prepotent birds. They produce really good, and the roll was really good. So they're pretty good pigeons.
What do you think? What are like the percentages? Did you say? So you said you had Jack and Nets. What are the percentages you think the Courtneys have as far as them breeding better birds? The percentages of to the Jack and Nets or the Courtneys. with.
Well, the cornies to me, they're very prepotent, and it took me a while, um, and I noticed right away too that the birds, when I got those three kids, I kind of flew them separate because there's a new family, whatever.
Right.
They didn't fly high at all. Um,
Which jackanets fly high.
which yeah, I was at that time, my birds, and I'm not. It's probably my
Feeding.
management of it because I mean, there's some good bird people out there that have good jackanets, but at that time, my birds, my jackanets, hit about 6 to 8 months, and they just got strong and they would fly high. And I'd have club flies, and probably about the 15 to 10 minute mark, man, they just go high. They roll pretty decent,
Mm-hmm.
but they just get high. And I was like, man, I can see the difference in the families. And I just know that the Courtneys are kind of prepotent. The roll is a little bit smoother,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just good birds.
So what? So you said they're a little better. What qualities really drew you to them? Beside, I mean, I know do they fly high, or is there any specific qualities, or like, I really would like, that made you want to make the full change because you don't really have any jackanets, right?
I have one bird, one jackonet hen that I kept. I just throw her on my almonds. But what was happening was I never had at that time. I lost some of the Courtneys at unbanded birds, and
Mm-hmm.
I always at that time I was kind of cutting back on the jackanets, and I really never had enough to fly just straight. After a couple 3 years, I didn't have enough birds at the Courtneys or the jacket to fly separate, so they were flying together. And there
Mm-hmm.
was one time I was watching them flying, like, what in the world? They were way high.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those jackanets were pulling them up, and I said, you know what, man, I'm kind of done. I didn't have enough time working wise as far as to mess around with two families. So I was like, in my mind, I was like, man, I gotta go to one family.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, you know what? I'm probably going to go to the Courtneys. But what I did in 2011 and 12, I kind of flew them against each other, like separate.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that, like right now, I have better Courtneys. But even back then, they were just spanking my jackanets. Um, so in 2013, I got rid of all my jackanets, and I went straight to the Courtney birds. And
Mm-hmm.
after that, I just started seeing,
Besides the one that you said you still have, yeah.
yeah, the one I still have.
So you got rid of everything else and just kept that one to keep with your almonds, but
Yeah,
other than that, you have strictly Courtney's right
yeah,
now.
strictly Courtney based birds.
Right. Would you say that these are easier to manage than the jackanets, or would you say they're about the same? I mean, how does the feeding go for them?
Uh, they're different. It's weird that these Courtneys, like their metabolism is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I got them, Danny, Courtney, and Ruben told me, my uncle, um, don't starve them. These birds need food. So like even now, I fly them and stuff. The management of food is you give them all they can eat.
Right. Which is
So
pretty uncommon for birds.
exactly. And people say, well, they probably don't come in. They do. I mean, um, I'll fly them and they'll come in right away, but they just need the food. And difference with the jackanets, I always had to yo-yo them, like pull the feet away from fly day, and I'd always have a problem, keeping them low.
Mm.
And then it was guessing game when I pull the food back if they were going to, perform or not.
Right,
So
because messing with the food like that, you're kind of like you said, guessing to see if they're gonna actually hit or not gonna hit. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of, to me, that's a little more difficult family to work with.
yeah,
Um, what are the like best attributes you see with them that you could see that are pretty easy to see in the family?
I'd say they're just prepotent. I mean, they're frequent, fast, and um, they break together pretty good. And the biggest thing, they're like in your face. They don't fly high.
So
So
they fly at a good distance.
yeah. So my biggest thing here lately, I've just breeding more for frequency.
Right.
Getting more birds rolling together and stuff like that.
So the qualities that you're breeding for, or you said frequency. So you pretty much, when you put a bird in the loft to breed, your main thing is frequency, or is there other things that you look at? Like,
Well, the
what do you
bird's
look at
got
to
to
breed?
the bird's got to roll a good age pattern, or balls up, and it has to come out of the roll clean. I mean, it's got a top quality, at least a 1.5 or whatever. But my biggest thing here lately, the last probably couple 3 years has been frequency. You want to score more points, but it has to do it right.
So your biggest thing right now is just keeping them frequent and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How soon do the Courtneys come into the role? Is it like a year to 6 months, or 6 months to a year, or how soon do they come in the role? And then what is the percentage of them coming into the role? Normal, like, does it half the birds come in at 6 months and the other half, come in later, or do they all normally come in around the same time? Yeah, out of young birds.
I would say young birds, and this is what I was doing in Colorado. I mean, once the birds they hit about 5.5, 6 months, you can actually start flying them in a club fly where you're going to get some points. 5 or 6 birds rolling, and then the rest of them kind of twizzle. But I've had the good ones too come in about 8 months. But I'd say when they hit like 2 years old, after that second molt, that's where you see some good speed, and some of them get frequent. I mean, some of them stay about the same, but that's when you see the good speed in them. And so it's about 5.5, 6 months. I don't wait a year. I mean, if I wait over that, I don't want to wait that long.
So when it comes to stalking a bird, you feel comfortable stalking a bird. I mean, what does it got to show you? Just the quality and all that. That's what's got to show you before you stalk it, or how often? Or better question would be, how often do you stalk birds? One to two or three, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 a year, or does it kind of just depend on the
Well,
birds?
well, here's the deal. When I moved here to Tennessee, at the end of 19, the birds that I was flying in Colorado, I've qualified a little bit. I ended up stocking probably about 6 or 7 real top quality birds because I wasn't gonna bring them over here and try to sell them here. That's just like suicide.
Mm.
So I was able to stock some good birds. But since I've been here, probably Tennessee, I'm getting a little bit stricter on what I stock. Um, I just stocked about 3 birds. They're right at 2.5 years old, but they got to be fast, frequent. They got to kit. They got to be clean. Come out of the roll. So, you know,
So it just kind of depends on the bird for
yes,
you when you're gonna stalk it.
yeah.
Um, in your opinion, what makes a kit great? Like when you see a kit and you're like, man, that kit's great. What are you looking at? Quality, all that stuff. But what are you looking for? And when you see a kit and you're like, well, that's a great kit. What makes a kit great in your opinion?
Well, I like to see separation when you're judging the kit. Separation, a lot of that twizzle, a lot of movement. I don't like that. Even if the bird's dropping 10 feet, you're going to see separation. But it's good to see 20 to 30 foot rollers and just drop it like softballs and do it right. Good age pattern coming out super clean. That's what I like to see. That I mean, in frequency, that's what you like to see in a good kit.
Okay, so this has been kind of a big discussion as well, online. When, in your opinion, I mean, it's your opinion. Um, do you count, if 6 birds go and then another, you know, 7 go? Do you count those as separate breaks, or in your opinion, is that one or waterfall kind of deal?
Well, to me, a waterfall is when you have 2 birds go, then 3 birds not at the same time. It says 5 birds need to go at the same time. So if 6 birds go, say they go like, I don't know, say 30 feet, and at 20 feet or 15, another 6 go, I count that. Those 2 separate breaks.
Mm.
So, I mean, that's the way I judge it.
Okay, and that's technically in the rules. I mean, as long as it goes within, you know, 5 birds go at 10 feet, right? 10 feet is when they start.
Yeah.
Um, Another discussion kind of online has been, when people give people birds and families, do you care? Like, if you give someone birds, I know you're not really too much into selling birds, but if you were to give birds to people, do you care if they give you credit, or is it kind of just like, you and the man know where they came from?
Nah, I mean, once I give birds away or sell birds or whatever, it's whatever they do with them. I don't have to get the credit. I mean, it's all about the birds. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. I mean,
So it doesn't really bug you. You don't care.
no, no.
Okay. Um. What What are your goals for 2023? I know Mark Rubin said he wants to win everything, win everything, and I think that's everyone's goal. But do you have any specific goals that you're trying to get, for 2023?
Well, I want to win too, and even though I may never win a World Cup or nationals or whatever. I just want people when they come to my house, when they leave, hey man, that guy's got some good birds, and just keep breeding and stocking birds that are just top quality birds, and just breed the best birds you can.
Right, right. Um, what do you have with the birds? Do you have like a 3 to 5 year goal or like a 10 year goal of what you would want in that time? Obviously, you said probably to win a championship. You say you might never, but that's obviously everyone's goal. Do you have any other goals like that you for the birds?
Well, with a bot problem, I mean, it's kind of tough sometimes to keep a good kid up. If you're getting hit all the time, but I want to score 600-700 points. And then if you do that, you should be steadily, even on a bad day, you should be able to score 200 points. I mean, it's tough, but it's even you qualifying, and if you fly 2 weeks later, it's kind of tough sometimes
So
scoring those points again. You just gotta keep at it.
and keeping the birds dialed in for that long.
Yeah.
Um, what what are what would you tell someone that was new to the sport? How would you go about giving advice to someone? That's something you could tell your younger self, but obviously something you would tell someone young that's coming into the sport. Advice you could give them.
Let's just go out and see birds. I mean, just watch flat birds hit and see what I mean, birds fly, and see what you want. You may want some deep birds. You may want um, short, frequent birds, but go out there first. Don't get in a hurry getting birds, and get some birds for some reputable guys that have been doing it for a while. You know, the Ken Billings, I say, the Rick Shanings, Kevin Monroe's. I mean, you get birds from them. You know what you got. They're
Hmm.
not going to probably give you their best, but it's in there.
No one probably will
Nobody will
though.
probably will, but I mean, you're going to
Yeah,
get some pretty good birds. Just
right.
take your time. Don't be in a hurry.
Yeah, because like you said, if you get birds from someone, get them someone that's consistently. What I like to look at is someone that's consistently at the top, or always there, competing because that's their birds and their birds are good. Um, you can't really go wrong with that if that's what you do. That's that. And if I were gonna go buy birds from someone, I would probably go about it the same way. Um, what are what is something that you maybe think that you could if you could that you would change about the hobby? Is there anything that to you is just something that you wish you could change as far as I don't know anything really?
Mm, I mean, it's a pretty good hobby. We got to get some younger folks in it. Um, just get along. Have fun. Meet friends. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Hanging out with bird guys. We have all the same likes with the pigeons. I mean,
Right,
but I don't know if I have any like something needs to change. I mean, I
right. Yeah.
think it's pretty good.
You're pretty good with everything. There's nothing you think you change.
Mm-mm.
Um, well, I I don't know if we necessarily have anything else. Is there anything else you'd like to really share, or anything you thought of? Something the birds flying competition, anything like that?
No.
Okay. Well, um, that's gonna be it for this one. Like I said in last video, we're the Tennessee Spin Masters are hosting a lawn show on June 10th, and we'd love to have you out. Um, if you do plan on coming or whatnot, we can arrange if you need to be picked up at the airport or whatnot. We can arrange that or anything like that. So if you would like to come out for it, reach out to one of us. My dad's Marco Solorio on Facebook. I'm, Benjamin Solorio on Facebook. And then if you need to reach out to anybody, reach out to, Ruben Solorio or whatever. If you would like to get in contact with us and let us know you're coming. We're gonna have a certain amount of slots to sell as far as for the show. So we'll hopefully be getting that out soon. So once them spots sell up, then that'll be it for the show as far as being able to enter the show. But even if we're sold out on those, it'd still be nice to have some people out here and hanging out. So with that being said, thank you for all the support and everything like that, and we will see you guys on the next one. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.